Oh my gosh. Hey, you guys. So, welcome to what, 3 p.m. in the northern part of the United States, where the sun sets before lunch. Oh gosh. So, what a crazy week. But I wanted to jump on a little bit and just talk a little bit more about the hopelessness thing. Um, we talked a little bit about my not so great video before, about hopelessness, losing kind of sight of things, and then taking small actions forward. But I wanted to get a little more specific, a little more granular around what that means. First of all, like what it means when you lose hopelessness, how you kind of get there, and then how you get out. That's the big deal. So like many things in life, hopelessness is kind of sneaky, right? It creeps into the little corners of life that when you're not paying attention, it just kind of jumps in. So I wanted to kind of talk about that. Then and ultimately, it's kind of like a fog, right? So a fog doesn't just show up suddenly. It's like this thing you notice all of a sudden when it becomes a little too thick. So just like a fog, you can kind of move through it as long as it doesn't get too thick. But once you realize you're stuck, it's because the fog has set in, right? You can't see 10 feet in front of you. You can't see where you're going anymore. And when you lose that sight, guess what? That's where things start to come apart, right? Now, when you're stuck in that system or in that moment where you're like, I'm looking around and I don't see the next step. I don't see hope on the other side. It means that a lot of people you'll talk to somebody and they'll say something like, "Oh, just trust the process," right? Or, "Hey, you've got this. Just keep going." Or we'll talk about things like, "Be tough. You got this. You can just keep going. Just keep going." And you're like, "Go where? I don't know where I'm going anymore." And that's why it feels so heavy. That's why you feel lost. And so it stops becoming about the things that you're doing, right? And it becomes a lot more about who you are. And a lot of times we start to become convinced that there's something in the way, that we have changed as people. We're less capable. So all of a sudden, like a person that was really locked into their journey and had a really strong vision. They took initiative and they were confident, or they were romantic. They felt capable. They felt that energy pulling them forward. All of a sudden, that's gone, and that those emotions, those capabilities, get replaced with being a little overly cautious, or a little too quiet, or worried, or you just avoid taking any risk at all or any step forward because whatever step forward you take, you don't know anymore how it's going to work out, right? Maybe life was a little more predictable before, and now it's not. So now the risks are just too high. So failure or stumbling becomes not what we do, but again, who we are. I am a failure instead of like, I messed up a little bit or I tripped a little. So most often when we kind of get in that mindset of like, I'm a failure, I'm not enough, I'm not capable, we try harder, right? We grind it out. We have grit, which is great if we're finding evidence that what you're doing works. When you start finding your way through the fog. Now, if you're not finding your way and you're just trying old patterns, guess what? You're still going to feel stuck. But now you're going to be stuck and exhausted, stuck and burnt out. And that's a different place to be. We don't want you there. So let's talk a little bit about that identity part. Everyone has times in their lives where life doesn't cooperate. So Lord knows I've had a few of those moments. Shoot, me and my wife, we almost called it quits 7 years ago. And it's because what we wanted and where we thought we were going and what was real just didn't match up. Even though technically we had checked all of life's boxes. We had the cool job, and we had the kids, and we had what we thought was a really good marriage, and we went to church every Sunday, and we had the dog and the picket fence, and I mean we had done all the things that we thought would bring happiness in life, but we weren't happy. And for a while, it felt hopeless. Like, it doesn't matter what we try right now. It's not going to work. It doesn't matter if we, stay consistent with our date nights and try to remain romantic and try to take care of each other's needs and be attentive to one another. Because what's the point? It's just going to end anyway. It's not going to work out. So I try. So as individuals, we're starting to ask ourselves, well, maybe I'm not as capable as I thought. Maybe I'm not deserving of love and affection. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe this is just how things are going to be. This is just the way things are. And maybe things don't get better for people like me. So, and it all shows up in those little things. It all shows up in the missed date nights and miscommunications and missed connections. And it leaves you wondering, am I enough? Sometimes it shows up in a bad job interview or a job interview that you thought you crushed and they never call you back. It's calling people over and over and over again, trying to build new opportunities or build a business or just get somewhere, and going straight to voicemail over and over and over again. No one replies to your emails or your text messages, right? It can be painful to be stuck in that rut. So suddenly you start to hesitate. You start to ask questions. You're like, I don't know. Why do it? Why should I plan a date? Why should I show affection? Why should I snuggle on the couch? Why should I submit like another application? So what do? You don't plan the dates, or you don't submit the job applications, or you don't make those phone calls. And that hesitation becomes a confirming message that you're not enough and it's never going to work. And this is where that identity shift happens. That's where you go, oh, I'm a failure instead of I messed up, or I'm not worthy instead of maybe I just need to try something new, or maybe I just need to keep going. So we started to say, instead of like, this thing I didn't work, it says, I don't work. Or this thing I did maybe wasn't enough and I need to level up, or I'm not enough. And that's the trap we get caught in, is that hopelessness becomes a part of who we are. Like, imagine trying to establish a relationship with a child and the kid's just like, no. They don't want to connect. They don't want to talk. They don't want to open up. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so painful, right? All I want to do is connect, but I don't know how. But you try the same damn thing over and over and over again, thinking that just insisting on whatever activity you want to do, going on walks, or, hey, let's go for a drive. And they're like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Instead of trying something different. Now, in some ways, things might actually improve, right? So it's like, let's say you try 100 times and finally out of desperation, they're like, fine, we'll go for a drive. And you're like, yeah, it's a win. But your belief didn't change, right? You might still walk into the cool connective conversation where you're like, oh, maybe we're going to talk, maybe we're going to connect, and it doesn't work out. So you're like, I'm still not enough. Even though I got something, even though I got moving in the right direction, I still don't believe it. Or if you're kind of stuck in a marriage situation where things aren't working out, you could be like, oh my gosh, like, we were kind of dead bedroom for a while, and then we went on vacation and things were really great. And then you come home and dead bedroom again, right? That can be a really painful spot where you're like, we're still not fixed. Why? Because you didn't change your belief. And you didn't change the perception about the world and who you are. So it can be really hard. It can be really hard to be stuck in that situation where you're like, I tried, maybe something got better, but it reverted back to the old process. Or I had a temporary win and now I'm stuck back in my old habits where I'm afraid to call, or I'm afraid to submit more job applications. Why? Because I got this close to it kind of moving over the edge and moving to the next level. But then it fell back, right? Now, most often, the reason why we fall back is because we're falling back to old habits, right? So we have to build new things. So the first thing you have to remember is most of this is never a forever thing, right? Like it can be temporarily painful, but it's easy for our minds and our hearts to believe that this is forever, right? Like, oh, I'm never going to get the job that I want. I'm never going to be able to make the money that I want to make, or I'm never going to have that quality connective relationship that I'm really striving for. And a lot of times, like maybe we have too short of a timeline. For my wife and I, like once we committed to each other that we wanted to grow into the new version of ourselves and improve our marriage, it took years for us to feel genuinely close enough to kind of be ourselves completely, and like the good, the bad, the ugly, right? The light and the dark. Took a long time to rebuild all of that trust and have a truly connected marriage. Was it worth it? 100%. But I screwed up in a lot of ways, and so did she. And so trust took time to rebuild. So these seasons are simply that. They are seasons. They're not a forever thing. So what are some of the seasons? Like it could show up after having a baby with some postpartum issues. You know, it could come after losing a job. It could come after breaking off a long-term relationship, a falling out with family, gaining weight, wasting time, or losing once again to addiction. These are all things that can kind of throw you out of your cycles, out of your patterns, or out of your situation where you start to feel hopeless. I'm just not enough. Look at me. I am a failure. But really all this is just an indicator that something is out of balance. So maybe you took on too much all at once. Maybe you sabotaged a relationship. Maybe bad news changed your direction in life, and now you have to chart a new course. But that course will take you to what you want, where you want to go. So what do? Well, we could wallow in self-pity. Like, that's fine. Let's do that. We could believe that we're never going to win, or we could rebuild. But in order to rebuild, just like, you have an old house that's kind of falling down on itself, you have to tear away all of the broken parts. And sometimes you've got to clear out the entire house to where you just have bare ground again. But you have to remove the old stuff to make space for the new. So the most common way that people do this is or they'll say something. Hang on, what are they saying? Most commonly, people might ask a question like, what's your 5-year plan? Right? It's like the number one question that used to be in like yesteryear's job interviews, right? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? But sometimes that's just a little too much, too soon. If you want to rebuild, you have to start at the bottom, at the foundation. So what does that look like? It's replying to one message that you've been avoiding. It's going on a short walk instead of signing up for that gym membership that you think you're going to go every single day at 5 a.m. It might be starting a task even if you don't finish it. Or asking one person for help. Honestly, just asking for help might be the very thing you need to get you moving in the right direction. And most often, it's doing something imperfectly, but doing it anyway. I know so many people that have incredible ideas and they're like, oh my gosh, this is how it's going to work. This is how I'm going to win. But they never start, right? Because they're not sure that it's going to work out. And so the sabotaging moment is, I know exactly where I want to go, but I'm too afraid to do it wrong. But here's the fact. The first time you do it, 9 times out of 10 is wrong. And then the next time, wrong. Next time, wrong. But the fact of the matter is you're doing something. You're testing. You're learning. And then you're making the necessary adjustments to do better next time. And guess what? Like, when you start, no one's really going to be impressed with you. It's not amazing that you woke up 30 minutes earlier than you normally do. or that you went and walked to the mailbox and back. But for you, it's monumental. It's powerful because that's what tells your heart that you're moving again. That's what pulls you out of you're losing and into you can do this. Right? So you're not really, you're at that point, you're not really ready for motivation. You're not ready to go big, to go all the way, right? Like most people don't just get out of bed at 200 pounds or 240 pounds and run a marathon, right? You got to train, you got to prep, you got to start and practice so that you can get to that marathon for that big achievement. You need to relight your fire. So this is actually really kind of a good story because a few years ago we went on a camping trip and we went camping for an entire week. We packed everything, right? We packed all the tents and we packed all the food and we packed all the utensils and all the things you might need to go camping for a week. We didn't pack anything to light fires. No matches, lighters, nothing that could really start anything outside of I had one pocket knife, or not pocket knife, but like a knife that in the sheath it had a little striker, right? Just a small one at that. And we used that the entire week. So we gathered up our things and, at first we're like, oh my gosh, let's just go home. We're done. We're toast. We're cooked. There's no way it's going to work. But instead we decided we just need to figure out how to start that fire a new way. Now, I enjoy preparedness videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So I had an idea around how we could build a fire. And I was like, okay, let's go find some bark. Let's go find some birch bark and let's, collect some things. Let's make a little bird's nest out of the birch bark and let's get this. And then we're going to find little tiny twigs and bigger twigs and then larger logs, right? Let's get everything ready. So as soon as we catch a flame, we can build the fire, right? So we got everything in line and then we started striking on the striker, right? And we'd get a couple sparks and we'd catch and be like, and then it would go out, right? And we'd do it again. And we'd catch and we get so excited and then we'd go out, right? Because it took some time to catch a big enough ember for something to light. That's how life is. You've got to keep striking, keep trying, right? Try something new, adjust, maybe get some finer material that'll catch an ember a little bit better. And then you do it again. So finally, and we caught an ember. We started blowing on it and it got hotter and hotter and hot enough now that we could close the nest in and keep blowing. And then smoke started to billow out of that little nest. And then finally a flame, a real flame. It got hot very quickly. And when it got hot, we were ready for it, right? We tossed it down into the pile of sticks that we had made. We started to pile bigger sticks on as it started to catch. And then bigger and bigger and bigger until we had a log on the fire. And once the log was on the fire, it got so hot so quickly, we had to move all the chairs back. That's how life works. You have to start. You have to strike until you catch just enough of an ember. And it might go out a few times. Go again. Don't give up. But once you get going, the possibilities are endless. And the cool part is like we had a camp stove. We had all these other things we wanted to light. All we had to do is go to the fire, put a stick in, and take it to the other things we wanted to light. We didn't need matches anymore. We didn't need to rely on something outside of ourselves. I hope you can see the analogy in that. When you find new ways to be capable, you don't need the old ways anymore. You don't need the old tools because you found a new way, a better way to thrive. So when you move into that new phase where you have a fire going, guess what it's called? It's called the emergence of possibility. This is where you start to notice that things are new. This is where you find little bits of inspiration, right? Why? Because curiosity comes back when your nervous system feels better, right? There's so many more things you can do once the fire's going. You can do practically anything once you've got it. So when you feel better about yourself and your situation, that's when you can start to ask better questions. That's when you can start to be curious. Now, to go back to what we're talking about, when you feel stuck in the fog, there's no curiosity there, right? It's only hurt. It's only sadness. It's only negative emotion. And you can't be curious when you don't feel safe. You can't be curious with all of that negative emotion. So you have to clean it out. You have to clear out that foundation. You've got to light your fire. Once you light that fire, then you can be curious. What's next? What should we do next? How do we add fuel to this thing? Better questions. But you're not asking, how can we add fuel to this thing when you have nothing to go on? Nothing to build on. You have to start by building that fire. It's those little things we talked about last time. And it's a couple of little things we talked about now, right? Rebuild trust, go on a date, submit the application, keep going. And if that's not working, try something different. Something you've never done before. It might be scary. That's okay. You're already scared. So how much worse can it get? But you can't be both stressed out and curious at the same time. You can't. And if you're not curious, you won't see the opportunities that are sitting right in front of you. Curiosity is a way better predictor of hope than just positivity. So you might have somebody who's really positive and wears a smile on their face and are like, I have no idea where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know why. Because positivity says, oh, it's all going to work out. Don't worry, it'll all be fine. Right? It's like showing up to the campsite and be like, we don't need no fire. It's going to work out just fine. Right? Even though we're going to eat like raw meat and undercooked quesadillas or something. It's not going to work out. Curiosity says something different. Curiosity says, what would happen if I took one more step? What would happen if I threw one more log on the fire? What would happen if I tried something new? But you've got to start. You've got to get the flame going first, right? So I've beat that analogy to death. Metaphor, analogy, metaphor. I'm going to have to Google that. Dang it. Every step you take after that curiosity moment builds hope, right? So that's the point. You're curious because your fire's going now. You've got a little bit of fuel, got a little bit of energy, and you go, what could I do next? What could I do next? And even if you fail, even if you kind of stumble along the way, as long as you're stumbling forward with that fire behind you, hope starts building. So back to the building analogy, you've cleared all these things away and you're starting to rebuild from the bottom up, right? You're building that foundation. You've got some blueprints. You've got some plans you're following. You're putting up a wall here, right? You're running some pipes over here. You're doing all this other cool stuff. Awesome. How do you stay on plan? How do you follow these new blueprints to the new house you're building? Because inevitably at some point you're going to mess up, right? We talked about messing up. If you build something and you have to tear it down again, who's to say that you won't go to the old plan, the old blueprints? It's a challenging question. Now, what I would recommend is you stick to the new plan. Don't revert to the old you, your old habits. Stick to the new habits, even though you're making mistakes, even though you have to tear down again and rebuild, right? That wall didn't work out the way we wanted to. Measurements didn't add up. Tear down the wall, build it again, right? And it's costly and it's time consuming. I get it. But reverting to the old ways won't serve you anymore. You can't just build your old house again. You have to start to form new plans and new habits. So there are like a million ways of kind of like sticking to the plan, sticking to the new you, building the new habits, right? So it could look like this. Maybe you pause before you make a decision, right? This is a really big one. So it's like, oh, I don't want to go back to a toxic relationship, right? But, like somebody invites you on a date and gosh, they're wearing all of the red flags from old relationships. Pause. Ask yourself, is this old me or is this new me that wants to get into this relationship or go out on this date or do this other thing? Is it new me or old me that wants the job that I had last time? Is it old me or is it new me that doesn't know how to say no when certain things are presented to me? Is it old me or new me when I feel pulled toward an addiction that I've been struggling with? Choose experiments. That's another one. Instead of deciding what'll happen next. So often we think we can predict the future, right? Especially if we're relying on old information, right? Oh, if I try that, they're not going to call back. Or if I took that big swing, I don't know. I probably won't work, right? It hasn't worked in the past. So who's to say it's going to work now? The fact of the matter is you have no idea. In the last 2 years, when I've been trying to build my business and get things going, I cannot tell you how many times I've hesitated before I called the owner of a business. And guess what? Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I go to voicemail. Fine. But once in a while, I get the call back. And they're like, yeah, of course I want to go to lunch. Sounds great. How's Tuesday at 4 p.m.? Lunch? No. Tuesday at noon, perhaps. But it happens all the time now. And new opportunities show up all of the time. So much so that I'm like, oh my gosh, I missed that opportunity. I missed that one. Like in hindsight, I see the ones that I missed, and I hope that I capture like 10 or 15% of the ones that present themselves before me. But they're everywhere. You just have to be curious enough to see them. So take note of what you're avoiding. And I know what I'm saying is like try a lot and do a lot of things. You can also just take a rest day. Take a day off. Now, that might feel like weakness if you don't have the job that you want or a job at all. It might feel like you're not providing for your family. It might feel like you're just not enough because it's like, who takes a day off, right? When you're building a business, when you're doing that, when you're doing this. But if you don't take time to look around and smell the roses, to go dirt biking, to go on a photo walk, or just enjoy time with your family, guess what? Those moments pass you by too. And as much as you might be chasing a dream or chasing a goal, there are other opportunities in other parts of life as well. Don't ignore them. And I mean, that's presence, but we'll talk about that in another video because that's a whole other thing. But the idea is take advantage of every opportunity you see, not just the ones that are like in this one line, one vein of life. You have a lot of things going on. Take advantage of all of them. Why not? So if you do that, right? If you pause and ask yourself, is this old me or new me, right? Take a day off. Step outside your comfort zone. Find out that whatever you did outside your comfort zone didn't kill you. This is going to keep you grounded in the new you and in your new habits because you're doing new things. Tomorrow, I get to go help a company reorganize their entire executive team. Think about that. Like, I'm just Joe Schmo from off the street, but tomorrow I'm helping an entire organization restructure. A year ago, 2 years ago, no chance I could have believed that that's what was happening. But now it's happening. And it's awesome. I'm super excited. I'm not even scared. Because I know I'm going to be able to show up as the right version of me, the new me, the capable me, the confident me. And even if I do it sloppily, they're still going to look at me as an advisor. That won't change. So just do it. Another example, it's a short one, but I built an assessment tool. Kind of robust. It's kind of awesome. I'll have to share it with you sometime. But to test it, I took my own assessment. And in one of the areas, I scored a 0. And I thought I'm like, oh, I'm a well-rounded individual. I'm going to do great on this assessment. I scored a 0 on my own assessment. So that felt awesome. And that part the attribute that I call it is the vigilante. I give it kind of fun names for each one. The vigilante is the brother to this other one called the judge. And it's not the bad judge, the good judge. But the judge is all about discernment and figuring out what's right and wrong. The vigilante is the one that acts on those virtues of right and wrong, right? Think like a lawmaker versus Batman, right? They're very different people. And so my lawmaker is awesome, right? Super strong, knows, like, has a really strong sense for right and wrong. My Batman scored a 0, right? It's like if Batman saw the Joker running around lighting the town on fire and doing nothing. And it shocked me. I was like, oh, are you serious right now? Me, of all people, scoring a 0? And I realized, and immediately once I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have a client that hasn't paid me yet. And I still haven't asked them to just pay me. They're overdue and they just haven't paid me. What if I just said, hey, do you mind sending that payment over, or sending a payment request or an invoice? It'd be that easy. And I just didn't do it. Right? I have a conversation with some family members where they're like, hey, this is what we want to do for the holidays. That's great, so long as we can live inside of certain boundaries. And I had not set those boundaries appropriately for the holiday season. So guess what I did? I made a phone call. It took me 2 minutes. And the boundaries have been set and everyone's happy. No one even got mad. It was just like, all right, we'll do that. Who knew? My Batman gained 2 points today. 2 points. Oh gosh. But when you do those little things, right? So I did 2 little things. It wasn't very hard. It still kind of scared me. I was like, oh, I hate that confrontational feeling. It's gross. But I got 2 points. And I have a little bit more hope in that area of my life now. I feel more capable because I didn't die. So now I have a little bit more hope than I did this morning. So here's my invitation. Take this week, try something new. Try some of the things that I talked about in this video. Take a personal inventory and find out what isn't serving you anymore, or ask a friend the same question. What isn't serving me? And see what they say. Then pay attention as you act on those things, how the world starts to open up for you. It's incredible. So here's a closing thought to kind of wrap it up. Feeling lost or like you failed is absolutely okay. But you have to realize it isn't true. Because you've only failed when you stop trying. And if you think about it, everything is a win when your goal is experience, when it's learning, improvement, growth. What I've learned is that I can always do better next time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I screw up this time. I'll do better next time. And I'm still not dead. I don't know how I'm not dead, but I'm not. So just like a fire, it always starts out with that little ember, just a little glow. And that little glow says, I'm still here and I'm still moving. Then, gradually, as the flame grasps hold of another branch, and then another, and then another, it becomes an unstoppable, roaring fire. That's you. And as that new part of you starts to gain more evidence, that new part of you starts to trust itself. And it becomes something that you can take with you everywhere. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to be afraid of it, because it's bold and it's confident and it's powerful. And that power will take you to incredible places. So blow on those coals, and you have no idea what you'll achieve when you do. Or less. I don't know. That's what I say. I love you. Keep going. Talk to you next time.